Hello and welcome to Chat Show. Today we're speaking with Andy Davies, who's the founder and director of the Cheltenham Paint Festival and a well-renowned street artist in Cheltenham. And he's going to talk to us about the Cheltenham Paint Festival and some of the work that he's done locally and a bit further afield. Andy, could you start by just telling us a bit about your background and what led you into the world of art, please?
So my background's a little different. I wasn't the kind of arty kid at school or the kid who was going out tagging, and that kind of actually developed from there. I was a teacher at a school for kids with learning difficulties and behaviour problems, teaching environmentalism actually. And the qualification board changed and the new qualification had upcycling of furniture. And the kids all wanted to put Banksy-style stencils on their furniture. So, although I was a massive street art fan, I used to go to events and festivals myself, but I never expected to be painting or running one, really. So I started doing the stencils with the kids, and then one of them said, "Can we do a bus stop near them?" It was a bit of a mess, so we did this design which it was two of the students knocking a hole through the wall, and through the hole you could see Chartres Cathedral, because the town was twinned with Chartres, so it was about breaking down the barriers between the two towns. And I put this idea, just a little bit of wall left that I saved for one lad who was on holiday when we actually did the painting. He came and painted it and got his qualification, and I put a picture of my daughter on there as a kind of guardian of the wall. I took a photo of her when she was 3, and she looked all really fierce.
Is the one with her and her wellies?
Yeah, the pink wellies and the eyes and the shades on.
Yeah.
And then it just went viral. And people just kept.
And that image has been replicated, hasn't it, since that? I'm sure I've seen it in more than one.
Yeah, I did some other stencils of it as she kind of grew up, one of her spray painting and stuff. And there's one on the Williams car park in town, a huge one of it. And
I think that's where I've seen it.
And I just painted it for the Cheltenham Festival's office with her spray painting "The Future is Ours to Create." So it's been used quite a bit. But
Good. And are your kids into art as well? Have you sort of encouraged them to give it a go? Or?
No, she wants to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And
stand her in good stead.
Yeah, well, it might become useful. I know. But he's 11, so he's not quite sure yet. But he's quite arty.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay, so tell us a bit about the Cheltenham Paint Festival and how you came to sort of found that and the work you've done there, because you're approaching your 10th year, aren't you?
Yeah, next year will be our 10th year.
So it's really well established.
Yeah, well, it'll be 12 years of me running events. So, funny enough, I was talking to one of the guys this week, actually. Some friends from Bristol came up to see me, and we went down the Honeybourne line.
Yeah.
And we managed to get the one wall to be given over to be a free wall, so anyone could go and paint. So we went and painted down there, and there used to be a mural on the other side, and by then it had degraded and it was tagged and it was not looking anywhere near its best. It'd been there for quite a few years. So I went to the council and said, so next time we paint, can we go and paint down there? And they said, "Did you paint at the weekend?" Yeah, we did. So they said, "Well, we loved what you did," and gave me some Section 106 money to run events down there for a couple of years.
That's good.
So that really paved the way. I think we used to get a lot of people coming up, obviously, when we were painting and I was running events down there. But there's a lot of old people, which was quite a surprise at the time. I used to say that I used to avoid going down there because it was so dark and dingy, and how us painting down there brightened the whole place up, and you love going down to see the new creations. So that kind of paved the way for us to apply to be able to run a festival, which at the time I was surprised they agreed to be honest. But what I later found out was that they'd spent a lot of money having a report into the state of the town.
Okay.
Which looked at everything. And quite rightly at the time pointed out that lots of businesses were moving out to sort of shopping centres outside of town, that the town centres were becoming more entertainment based, so coffee shops, and bowling and pubs and things. So being able to have somebody come and put some art around the town meant that if it went well, they could take the credit, and if it went wrong, it could blame me, I guess. So
I think it definitely gives a real uplift to certain parts of the town. You drive through and you see a massive piece of artwork on a wall, and it's like, wow, it's quite striking and takes you aback, and it's really nice. It's it's a lovely thing to have in the town. And I've seen various murals that I know you've been responsible for, and maybe some other people that you know. The Cheltenham Paint Festival, you obviously bring together artists. We have brought together artists from all over the world, haven't you? To Cheltenham and been allocated walls by the council. So when did your relationship sort of with the council start, when they sort of commissioned you to start sort of painting? Because I've seen your artwork in parks in the town and
so originally they funded the project down the Honeybourne line, and they've always been very good. They've always put money in and helped. They don't allocate walls. We found all the walls.
Right. Okay. So you have to speak to them about doing artwork before, do you? And then they'll say, "Yep, okay."
No. You don't need permission to paint your house.
Okay.
It's only if it's a conservation area.
Sure. Okay.
And then we kind of discuss what our plans are, or if it's a listed building, which last year we painted. The Famous in town, which was on a listed building. So obviously we had to have permission for that.
Sure.
But it's I've been very lucky. They pretty much let me get on with it. We have, like you say, we have artists come from all over the world. Last year we had 500 applications from 50 different countries. And a lot of artists paint at lots of festivals around the world, and some are more some you have to put designs in, and they can be turned down or not. But I've got luckily in a position where I choose the artists. I often work with the building owners to say, okay, we've got these people coming. What do you like any of this, or do you like that? And then the artists get given free rein to do what they want, so they know the artist's style, they know what's going to come, but they don't know exactly what it's going to be. And I don't like to get involved. I like to be as surprised as everyone else when the work goes up, to be honest. So, and I don't like to have to put the designs in for the work. So, we're very lucky to be in that position, and I think that's worked well. It's made it authentic, and so I think. It's very easy to get art that's produced by the community, and you have, there's a lot of committee involved in it, and it becomes sanitized, and that might upset that people or that, so it ends up becoming very sanitized. And I think that's where we've been so successful, is that we've allowed artists to have free rein, and some of those
quite raw.
Yes, I mean some of them we put ones on the flats of Hester's Way. One was a trans artist. One's a lady of colour, and they've had their issues in the past there with racism, sexism stuff. So I think had the councils been involved more, they might have shied away from doing some of those things.
But actually it works really well, doesn't it?
But it's got an authenticity to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen sort of various other artists around places like Cheltenham train station. I think possibly the brewery in Cheltenham. I've seen some artwork there as well. I don't know if that's yourself or people like Inky. Do you collaborate with other sort of quite well-known artists sometimes on projects?
Yeah, I mean pretty much anything you see painted around Cheltenham is comes from the festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, Inky's a very good friend of mine. I love Inky. He's a diamond. Just don't get taken out for drinks with him. He's a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, no, I do.
He's from Bristol, right?
He's Bristol. Yeah, he's Bristol.
So
yeah,
did he sort of grow up with the likes of Banksy and people like that?
Yeah, well, there's a guy called John Nation who now lives in Gloucester.
Okay.
Who ran a youth club in Barton Hill in Bristol.
Okay.
Back in the 80s, and he was one of the first people to allow people to paint on the walls.
Okay.
And gave these artists a platform. So people like Inky and Jodie's done another big one on the flats who does a lot of work. He did the botanist. He painted the botanist in Cheltenham as well.
Okay.
And yeah, Banksy came along. He was kind of more the second wave of people who came and painted at the youth club. But yeah, I mean, we had a talk a few years ago. It was the 25th anniversary of. There was a big bust in Bristol, and they arrested loads of artists and John Nation, and tried to do him like as a Svengali of all these artists. He was given free walls to paint at the youth club. But yeah, so we had them do a chat at the Chapel Arts a few years ago.
Okay.
But back to the original question is, I do collaborate. I've worked a lot with Curtis Hilton, who does the flowery cats and flowery birds. I've worked with him quite a few times on different projects. I'm, as I've mentioned to you before this, I'm in consulting for 2 other towns to bring paint festivals or to their towns, and he's my easiest sell. People love that kind of the flowers, the birds, the animals. So I quite often work with him.
So obviously, sort of well renowned in the kind of Cheltenham area. My son's a big Cheltenham Town football fan, and I've been to collect him from the home games and seen the work you've done on the walls there with some of the former footballers for the Cheltenham Town, which is fantastic. Tell us about some of the more recent commissions you've done for, say, some sort of businesses around Cheltenham and Gloucestershire area.
Yeah, I've done a lot. I've done work for all sorts of things. I've worked with Arsenal Football Club, Sky Arts. I had a 2-hour programme on there. Recently, I've just done a big commission for Kraken Rum, which was in Lounge 72 in Cheltenham. So it's like a kraken's eye looking through from the top of the stairs with its tentacles all coming in and out of the walls and down the corridor. And it's all in black and white, but then when you turn the UV lights on, it all becomes UV as well. So, and I've just done one for the old Eagle Star building in Bishop's Cleeve, which was a 4-story indoor mural.
So it was a big building.
Yeah,
Must have taken quite a bit of paint.
It did, yeah. It was up and down scaffolding as well. You couldn't get a scissor lift in there, so climbing up, you didn't want to be dropping your brushes or anything. What's
your favourite medium to use? Because obviously you've got the spray cans, then you've got the paint.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with. I've as I mentioned earlier, I started off with teaching the kids and with stencils.
Yeah.
And then quickly went from I started using stencils just to put kind of the eyes and nose in where they were and painting freehand around that. But as I got bigger and bigger, stencils I couldn't use those. So I taught myself to paint freehand with spray paint and with a household emulsion. So I've just done a commission for Cheltenham Festivals to celebrate their 80th anniversary. As the world's oldest literature festival. So
amazing.
I just painted in their offices, it's the offices they're using. You can't really use spray paint because obviously it stinks and the dust gets everywhere. And so that's all hand painted, and I tend to use just 3 colour. No, just a standard house paint. Okay. So I've got a good relationship with Brewers Paints. So they don't put any other tones in, they just put red, yellow, blue, and then I mix all my colours from that. but yeah, so that's all hand painted. But I mean, I love using both, to be honest. I love painting by brush. I love to be able to get a lot more detail.
Well, some of the artwork I've seen has been amazing. Yeah, the detail, like you say, do you tend to do like a sort of a sketch or something beforehand, so you've got something as a bit of a guideline to go by, or do you just go freestyle, where if you've got an idea in your head, you just paint?
No, I rarely just paint
Yeah.
from my head. I find it quite difficult to be
Yeah,
honest.
I bet.
I often use reference photos. So for the one for Cheltenham festivals, I took a photo of my son reading, and it's like he's been illuminated by the book, and there's Percy Jackson and Spider-Man and pirates all kind of floating around his head. But I also did one of, oh God, I can't remember her name, something Benjamin,
Okay.
to represent the jazz festival.
All right.
But I had a reference photo, but I kind of, I went a bit off grid on that one. I tend to, use it to just show me where the kind of shadows and stuff are, but then the colours don't have to be exact. You have a tonal range, so that if you looked at a picture in grey, you could use what would be, say, the reddish part of a face. You could use a green for that, but then go through the various tonal ranges. So,
Okay.
so yeah,
Nice.
I do go off grid.
So going back to the Cheltenham Paint Festival then, I know you've obviously, like you say, you've been approached by councils in Redditch and also in Cambridge, and to be asked to work sort of as a consultant for them to do similar things over in Redditch and Cambridge. It's really exciting. That's its sort of formative stages at the moment, isn't it? Going back to Cheltenham Paint Festival and the work that you do there, do you tend to have any themes, and do you, like, in terms of funding, because before I remember you telling me that you had hundreds of artists come from all over the world, and to sort of transport them and accommodate them must be really quite expensive. So you must have to sort of, have some sort of budget and plan for sort of fundraising. How does the fundraising for that take place? Do you tend to go to sort of the council, or to local sponsors, to corporate sponsors, or do you do fundraising yourself? How do you tend to sort of raise the money needed to make it a kind of a really good event?
I beg, borrow and steal wherever I can get it from, to be honest. It's a big question. It's fundraising is always difficult. I'm lucky in with one of the councils has a very big budget for me to work with, which would be nice. Probably more budget than we've had in about 7 years in Cheltenham, to be honest.
Is that for the forthcoming festival?
Yeah, it's a kind of planned over sort of 3 years.
Okay,
kind
brilliant.
Of ease it in and step it up a little bit.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, I mean, the council have been very good. They usually fund us. Cheltenham Bid, the brewery are always very good with funding us. Arts Council, not so good. We've not had any money off them since the second year.
Okay.
I had a meeting with the Southwest director a couple of years ago, and he was just like, I can't believe we're not funding this. This is exactly the type of thing we should be funding.
Right.
Tell me all the things I should apply for, and then we got turned down again.
Sure. Okay. It's disappointing.
Yeah, it really was. And then I've just met with the CEO of the Arts Council, with Max Wilkinson, and trustees from Cheltenham Trust and Cheltenham Festivals, to discuss, because this is not just a Cheltenham Paint Festival situation. As part of the Culture Board, we've looked at it, and across all of the festivals and stuff, Cheltenham is seen as culturally rich, and we are not, it's seen as quite a wealthy town, and we're just not high on the list of priorities for funders. And everyone really struggles to get money from the Arts Council and people like that. So, yeah, we had the director down of the CEO down from the Arts Council 2 or 3 weeks ago to discuss how we can look at getting back. Cheltenham has it's similar to Cambridge. There is a disparity in it's got some very rich and some very poor and some some of the worst off areas in the country. So yeah, hopefully I'm kind of planning this year. I decided with losing North Place that that was a big loss to us, and that I didn't want to. We didn't really have anything to fill that gap with at the moment. It's a big centre of town spot. So I was going to have a smaller event this year and kind of focus on next year, which would be my 10th year anniversary of running the festival. Last year was my 10-year anniversary of running events, but next year would be my 10-year anniversary of running the festival. So my plan this year was to be hopefully running an event down the whole of the Honeybourne line.
Okay.
The walls down there have all been tagged all the way from the train station down and just look a mess. So we were hoping to be able to paint that, but it's now 6 months and I still haven't had an answer of whether that is going to be possible. So,
so hopefully
it's looking like, I mean, well, we were somebody was meant to be the focus of for me to be able to deal with things paint festival related with the council, but that just doesn't seem to be working. We haven't had an answer in 6 months as to do that this year, so I'm not sure what's going to happen now. I might just have to cancel this year and focus on next year instead.
I've walked down that Honeybourne line before quite a few times, and it's always nice seeing all the different pieces of art and through.
Yeah, let's say that was where we started, and it was such a surprise that people took to it so well. And obviously it was just tags and just looking a mess, which is what's happened with the walls down the rest of the line. They cut all the vegetation back because they had some issues down there, and then I asked if we could paint it then, and they said no, we're going to anti-graffiti it. But that was never going to happen. It's going to cost like hundreds of thousands of pounds. Yeah, and you've still got to go and clean it off, and then you've got to reapply it. So that didn't happen, and it's still.
I'd imagine you're always going to get people graffitiing over there. So whether they do it,
I mean, our stuff down there regularly gets repainted. I've had a piece down there for 4 years that I did with my friend who passed away during lockdown, but most of the stuff tends to get gone over within a short amount. Space of time. Okay. You get a lot of football fans coming down there as well. From the train station. Sure. So and then there's lots of kids down there as well. So it tends not to last very long down there. But I mean, now all those walls are all covered in just horrible tags. So it'd be nice for it to look nice staying there. Which was what we would like to do, but it's getting a bit too late in the day now. We're going to have to knock it on the head for maybe next year.
Let's see what happens. I've seen you at Davies Primary School painting there before. Do you do much to engage with schools to kind of promote painting with young children or anything like that? Do you ever get invited to schools to give classes on?
I've given classes.
Graffiti art and that
quite a lot of it tends to be. They cover graffiti art as part of their art.
Did you do workshops and that kind of thing?
So I've done a lot of workshops around schools.
Excellent. Okay.
I've done a lot in Cheltenham and then Davisford. The head of Davisford actually was, when we first started the festival, we had roller girls going around handing out flyers, and she was one of the roller girls that used to come and hand out flyers for us. So, so she invited me to come and do a piece for the school, which was it was really nice. That was such a dead area. It's just, they took me kind of around. They wanted something, but they didn't know what. So we kind of looked around, and there was various walls we could have painted. But that was a real dead area. Just nothing really happened in that area. And it's the staff room looked out onto this just ugly little wall. So they've now changed that into a reading area. yeah, it's really nice. Yeah.
So you've obviously got an amazing portfolio of sort of artwork that you've done in the past. I've seen an array all over the town. I know you've done things further afield as well, like you say, like for Arsenal Football Club and other places as well. Sort of, moving forwards over the next, I guess, 6-12 months, what's your main focus going to be?
Yeah, I've got jobs lined up. I've got a really beautiful house out in the country. A gentleman owns. I've got a piece to do for him, and I've got a piece to do on the Lower High Street that I'm going to do a bit of the history of Cheltenham and celebrate some local musicians as well. I'm meeting, like I said, the first wall I ever did was the wall for the school in Nailsworth.
Okay.
And it was the Twinning Association, so it was about the Twinning Town. Yeah. So I'm meeting with the Twinning Association from Annecy.
Okay.
In a few
nice,
weeks.
because they're twinned with Cheltenham, aren't they?
Because they're twinned with Cheltenham.
Yeah.
So the Twinning Association now want me to go to Annecy and paint looking back through to Cheltenham.
Oh, lovely. That's a nice opportunity.
Yeah, they run a festival out there.
Yeah,
so
excellent.
they've been running it for a few years. And I think they have quite a few underpasses and things that they've been painting.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then obviously next year is the big Cheltenham Paint Festival, the 10-year anniversary, so that's going to be a big one, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe it's 10 years, to be honest, that I've been running it. My hair was certainly a lot darker than it's a lot the last few years. But yeah, that was kind of part of the reason I didn't want to do something this year. We painted a lot of the walls around Cheltenham, and we don't. Yeah, we are. We painted a lot of the walls I set out to get when we first set up. So, and we don't. Our walls are permanent. We don't paint over a lot of festivals just paint the same walls every year. But I've made my life much harder by trying to find new walls, of which. It's lovely that we've built every year upon that collection of art we've got around the town, and it enables us to go out into different areas. I mean, this year we went to Cheltenham Kings, so we went down the road here.
Sure.
We had an artist from Belgrade come in and do that this year. With the lady bending over the back of the chair, which represents how mothers bend over backwards to help their families and things. But it means we can spread out. So I'd quite like to do this. We've been offered a few walls in Campton. There's some others in Cheltenham Kings we might be able to do. So
excellent. So keep it really busy.
Yeah, always busy. Always keeping busy.
Obviously you do a lot commercially for the council, but if anybody wanted to commission you to do some work, whether it's on like a child's bedroom wall, inside their house or on the side of their house, or if a business wanted to approach you to ask if you could do some artwork like what you've done with Eagle Star recently, for example, what would be the best way to sort of contact you?
Yeah, I mean, you can contact me through the Paint Festival. That's probably the easiest way to contact me. But yeah, I mean, I've done full bedrooms to big businesses. I did one for Hydro, who are down by KFC off the Tewkesbury Road, which it's a shame. It's probably the biggest wall I've done, and it's kind of Cheltenham centric as well. So it's got Neptune and the horses from Neptune's fountain on either side. But the only place you can see it from is Swindon Road. You can just see the head coming out between the houses and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've worked for all sorts of businesses.
Okay.
I'm quite happy to.
So best to contact you on sort of social media, on like Facebook or Instagram?
Social media.
So there's a Cheltenham Paint Festival Facebook site.
I've just taken myself off X.
X.
Except for X.
That's the Twitter. Yeah.
I've taken,
So not on Twitter.
No.
But best to contact you on Instagram or Facebook, Cheltenham Paint Festival.
Yeah. I'm on there as Andy Dice Davies on either of them as well. So you can contact me through there. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Andy. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you, and we look forward to enjoying what's to come in the future as well. The next
Yeah,
festival.
2026, yeah.
We'll keep a lookout on the walls of
crossed.
Cheltenham to see what's new. Right. Thanks very much for joining us today, guys. We look forward to seeing you on the next chat show recording, and see you again soon.